Now, are you in desperate dire need of a shiny new smartphone, but unfortunately you're stony skinty broke because you just gave the last of your savings to some mysterious old man you met in the street who sold you a handful of magical beans, and he told you to plant these beans because in 7 days precisely each bean will transform into a Beyonce. But then you planted those beans and 1 week later all you had was dirty beans. Well, no worries, because you can spend surprisingly little on a fresh new blower as we crawl bloodied and battered into the arse end of 2025, and yet still get yourself something that isn't a total piece of cack. I'm talking gorgeous AMOLED displays, decent gaming performance, ridiculously good battery life, the works. Now I've reviewed dozens of budget-friendly smartphones, and here's my pick of the very best right now. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe, ding that little notifications bell. Cheers! Now, one of my absolute favourite budget blowers right now is the Nothing Phone 3A, which boasts some surprising specs and features for just over 300 quid. This slightly chunky smartphone sports that iconic disco arse, which flashes to notify you of messages, or just in time to whatever banging tunes you've thrown on. If you can tear your eyes from that arse for just a second and flip the Nothing Phone 3A over, that OLED screen is yet another delight. While the stereo speaker setup is decent enough for enjoying a spot of Netflix, or the satisfying sound of you beating Gribblies right in their chops with an inappropriately attired anime lass. Speaking of which, thanks to those Snapdragon smarts, the Nothing Phone 3A is nippy enough to basically play any game out there, even a bit of Wuthering Waves. Nothing's camera setup is impressively flexible, with a telephoto shooter slapped in for good measure, quite the rarity for a budget-friendly phone. And even in quite challenging conditions, you'll get decent looking pics. Nothing OS is as lovable as ever, now bolstered by the surprisingly effective Essentials space, which allows you to set reminders and build your to-do list with just a push of a button. In fact, there's little at all to grumble about here. Go check out my full review of this affordable wee delight, as well as the more expensive Pro model if you've got a bit more cash to spare. Now, if you're on a tighter budget, well, Nothing offers a couple of even more affordable options. First up is the Nothing Phone 3A Lite, which is cheaper but also unsurprisingly not quite as good. For one, that glyph lighting has been ripped out and replaced with a single sad little LED squashed into a corner all on its lonesome. You've got a tinny and decidedly cack mono speaker, while it's MediaTek's Dimensity 7300 Pro in charge. Aye, the 3A Lite can be a wee bit juddery and slow at times, but to be fair, it can still just about cope with some gaming on the go. Even a spot of Wuthering Waves if the mood really takes you. You still get a pleasingly poppy AMOLED screen and that enjoyable Nothing OS experience, but the camera tech is more basic, and that zoom lens is missing in action. So overall, I'd have to say, if you can afford it, definitely upgrade to the regular Nothing Phone 3A. Or alternatively, Nothing also serves up the CMF Phone 2 Pro for an even stricter budget. And this time you've got a colourful design that is slightly customizable, with support for a small range of slap-on accessories, complete with that reassuring water resistance. The poppy AMOLED panel is back in action, and you have a respectable camera setup here, similar to the regular Nothing Phone 3A. And yes, that's complete with a basic telephoto shooter. The CMF Phone 2 Pro is powered by the Dimensity 7300 Pro, so it can just about cope with proper games like Wuthering Waves, and that battery life is top notch. Check out my full review, and for a bit of a laugh, I also shot a side-by-side comparison with the iPhone 16e, which ain't as good despite costing almost 3 times as much. Now, also at the time I shot this video, Xiaomi was offering its Redmi Note 14 Pro 5G on a discount for just under £300 over on its website. And this sports a bright and palm-pleasing design with a textured back end plus full water resistance. Great news if you're having to enjoy a bit of doom scrolling while chilling in the jacuzzi. HyperOS can be a bit bulky at times, although Xiaomi is offering a good few years of updates with the Note 14 Pro 5G. And that near 6.7-inch AMOLED display is bright, punchy and supremely sharp, with Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus support. It's proper crack for the eyeballs, ideal for streaming movies or playing games in your downtime. Speaking of which, this Redmi can just about handle more intensive fare like Genshin and Wuthering Waves as long as you drop the detail levels. Although I gotta say, I did find the camera experience quite juddery here on the Redmi, even if I was just shooting simple snaps of the cats or the sprog or whatever. The 200 meg main camera does a decent enough job as long as you're not too demanding, although definitely stick to photos because videos can be rather choppy. And the battery life here on the Note 14 Pro 5G is solid, although charging speeds have rather annoyingly dropped since the previous generation. And from that Xiaomi website, you can also grab yourself a Poco F7 on the cheap. Now this is an absolutely beastly 6.8-inch Android with that same HyperOS setup. The AMOLED display is yet another stunner, while the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 copes with even tougher titles like Weather and Waves. Although the Poco F7 does heat up a wee bit under pressure, so I certainly wouldn't game on it for too long. Battery life is once again excellent thanks to the absolutely ruddy enormous 6500 mAh capacity cell. So even if you're a highly demanding user, a single charge should easily last you a full day, possibly even a full weekend if you don't go too nuts, while the fast charging support will power it all the way back up again in bugger all time. Plus the Poco F7 is fully IP68 rated, so fully water and dust resistant, which is still reasonably rare for a budget friendly blower. And the camera arrangement can happily handle some everyday family photography, only occasionally lapsing with a dodgy shot or two. So overall, HyperOS quirkiness aside, it's a proper good one. Otherwise, Xiaomi has also been offering a lot of discounts recently on the respectably good Poco X7 and Poco X7 Pro. I've personally only tested the Pro model in this strangely timed Iron Man limited edition flavour. Surely it should be a Doctor Doom version now, right? But it's yet another cracking IP68 water resistant handset, boasting generous specs including shagloads of storage, a trouser-rousing AMOLED screen, Dimensity 8400 Ultra Smarts, and yet another massive 6000 mAh fast charging battery. Fetch my spare pair of pants, Marjorie. I just filled these ones. Another budget-friendly option under £300 is the OnePlus Nord CE5, 6.77 inches of fun. The best bit is that OxygenOS software, which is as feature-packed and customizable as ever. And that comes complete with 4 OS updates and 6 years of security support. Some features like eSIM are nowhere to be found, but you do have expandable storage and a proper good gaming mode. The Dimensity 8350 Apex brains don't absolutely destroy their metaphorical pants if you throw on a bit of Weather and Waves, although the Nord can get rather toasty despite OnePlus's intensive cooling tech. Games and movies look crisp and colourful on that AMOLED screen, which remains surprisingly responsive even when moist, although sadly that single solitary speaker is a pile of pants, so you'll certainly want to hook up some headphones. Factor in some decent battery life with fast charging support and a decent enough camera, and the Nord CE5 is a likeable enough prospect for not much cash. Alternatively, Motorola is also a proper purveyor of wallet-friendly smartphones, and one of its most impressive recent efforts is the Moto G56 5G. Despite its more budget-friendly price tag, the G56 is a bit of a stunner, serving up a choice of 4 Pantone certified colours as well as full IP68 water resistance. That 6.7-inch screen may just be LCD tech, not OLED, but it's still proper poppy. And you've got yourself stereo speakers as well as an actual headphone jack to get all wired up. That Dimensity 7060 may mean quite limited performance, but the battery life is superb as usual, complete with not exactly tediously slow 30-watt wired charging support. And the Moto G56's camera tech is fine as well, although as usual Motorola ain't too hot when it comes to timely software updates. Nor for a super budget price, there's also the Moto G35. The performance and the camera tech are certainly nothing special, but the battery life is excellent, and once again you've got a lovely frills-free version of Android. Plus Motorola has once again nailed that design with a strokeably soft fake leather arse. And if you've only got £100 to spunk on your fresh new Pocket Pal, well yeah, your options are pretty limited. But Motorola once again has you covered with the super cheap and cheerful G06 Power. This bargain blower is a proper chunkster, but for good reason. You've got a massive 7000 mAh battery stuffed inside, which can keep you going all weekend long, and then some. Of course, the performance is basic, as is that 50 meg rear camera. But if you're happy enough just messaging and web browsing, you can't be arsed with all of that battery charging malarkey, well, the Motorola G06 Power is well worth a squint. And also note that you can pick up this phone in a non-power flavour, which has a smaller battery and a slimmer, lightweight design. If you fancy yourself an affordable blower that's also impressively expandable and repairable, well, definitely have a squint at the mental HMD Fusion. Like Motorola's blowers, the update side of things does let this phone down a bit, which is almost ironic given you can transform this blower on a whim by adding extra bits of hardware like this flash ring for your vlogging extravaganzas, while you can also extend its lifespan by ripping open the Fusion and replacing bits like the battery all on your lonesome, as long as you're up to dealing with all the teeny tiny wee screws. And also, like Motorola, you've got a sleek stock Android experience here, plus dependable battery life, although the low resolution screen and iffy performance may put you off. And last up, a shout out to the Infinix Hot 60 Pro Plus, which is a bit of a pain in the arse to actually track down in some regions, but it's also a super affordable alternative to slender smartphones like the iPhone Air and Samsung's Galaxy S25 Edge. It is crazy thin and light with a punchy AMOLED screen, and get this, battery life that doesn't actually suck arse. Performance is perfunctory while the camera is merely fine, but it is certainly one of the best looking blowers in its price range. And that right there, my lovelies, is my pick of the very best budget friendly smartphones that you can grab yourself right now here in Byyyyyyeeeee that I've personally tested and reviewed, that is. Only one Uncle Spurt, unfortunately, so I may have missed out your own personal favourite, in which case feel free to call me a festering slaphead down in the comments below, clue me in as to what I should have bunged in here. And if anything I've banged on about has really polished your truncheon, well, you'll find full reviews of these smartphones right here on TechSpurt. Please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. Plenty more budget smartphones lingering on the horizon. And have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers, everybody. Love you.